Hello, everybody. Welcome to Albion Obsessed, episode number 20. We are here on a lovely, freezing cold Monday evening, couple of days after the Palace game. We are here with Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hi.
He's still very ill, bless him. Do you want to
I'm
give
getting
him a
there, I'm getting
socially
there.
distanced cuddle? There you go. You're all good now. We are here with Aaron.
Hello.
And we are here with Kurtis. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Obviously, we're on the back of another draw against them lot up the road, which we will get onto in more detail because there is lots to talk about. It was my first game in the North Stand. I don't know if I've said that enough. I'm probably bored of hearing it now, guys, but it was absolutely amazing.
Fantastic.
I'm so glad that we actually scored a goal in front of the North Stand, and I got to witness that for the first time. It was, that's spine tingling.
Yeah, good feeling.
Absolutely spine tingling. That leads us quite nicely onto a nice little new segment we're going to do at the start of a podcast. Did you like that segment, guys?
Good. Nice.
Yeah, cool. Aaron, we're going to bring it to you, my friend, because what we're going to be doing, we're going to be talking about goals and moments at Brighton games or any other games, really. It could be England, obviously, that have just filled you with the biggest emotion ever and like one that you will just never, ever, ever forget. So, Aaron, we'll let you take that away.
So I've narrowed it down to 5. I had originally
only 5.
I originally had 3, and then all of a sudden I remembered 2 more.
Yeah.
So I've got Ajoa's goal at Forest. We've spoken about that enough. We know how much me and Tom, especially, we've spoken about that in depth. And even watch it now, just the Mikhail Smith, Ajoa, still spine tingling now.
Brighton uploaded that like a couple of days ago. They did like an
they
feature on the channel. Yeah.
This day in 2030, we signed him. Not this day, was in the day that they posted.
The day this week came out, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I've got Leon Knight's player final penalty. I remember that going to Millennium Stadium, sort of expecting a very tough game. And it was, and I still remember the ball going in the back of the net and just almost like it felt like 50,000 Brighton fans screaming the roof off the Millennium Stadium. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But we wouldn't have got there if it wasn't for Adam Virgo.
Yeah, of course.
That goal will never be beaten in my opinion. That for me is something I will never forget. Pissing down a rain at Wifteen. We were awful in both legs. How we did not lose that game, I do not know. And get it through the penalties, and obviously Ben Roberts, the hero, being the hero that he was, saved. So will hit the post in the missed last penalty, but still got us through to Wembley to Millennium Stadium. And then the final 2 are the 2 I actually missed out originally. So it's Paul McShane against Palace. It was at Selhurst Park. It was the first time I'd been to Selhurst Park and see a score and win. I just remember that game. They got a last-minute equaliser and they got ruled off for offside. And back in those days, the away end was right next to the Ultras where they are now. And the Holmesdale erupted like it was. I've never heard a noise like it. And then the flag just came straight up, and I just remember that feeling. I was speaking to my dad about it earlier. He was like, "Yeah, that was a hell of a feeling." And another one at Selhurst Park would be Morpay's one this year. I think that one for me. I think because I generally thought the game was done.
Yeah,
generally thought the game was done. We were awful. And then to get that one opportunity and the emotions that I felt, I haven't felt that again probably since the Virgo goal. Like just the absolute just elation and just pouring out was just ridiculous. But out of those 5, for me, it's still going to be Adam Virgo. That is a daylight robbery if ever I've seen one. But it was
commentary as well. You're not there yet, Swindon fans. I mean, it's just one of those where it's synonymous with that goal. And as you say, Aaron, I mean, I wasn't there, but even like you watch it on replays and on YouTube and in the With Dean Years DVD, and it's just one of those moments where you just go, "Oh my God, we've done it!" You know. I remember my dad went to the playoff final at the Millennium, and he just said like the atmosphere was incredible.
It was unreal. It was something that I never thought I would get to experience as a Brighton fan, is to have those sort of days out. And that was the closest thing to Wembley I thought we would ever, or a bigger ground we would ever get. And look at us now. We're at the AMEX. We play Premier League football for the last 5 years. Crazy. The story of this football club is just baffling. But obviously, we've had goals on the flip side of those, where I've had the raw emotions of seeing us concede a last-minute winner against Palace at the Withdean, and hearing the absolute. But you've got to remember, Withdean had no roof, and the roar we heard from the Palace fans was ridiculous. I've been there at Grimsby away when we got relegated. That was the first time I cried at a football match. I'm not going to sit here and deny that I don't cry at football. I do, of course. It was emotional, you know, and it was the last time I thought ever see Zamora in a Brighton shirt. Obviously, it wasn't the case, but you know, it was still emotional. You know, emotional goals that obviously some good, some bad. But for me, Virgo against Swindon in the playoff final, semi-final at the Withdean, probably the best goal I've seen at the Withdean. Scrappy, I say the best because it was just meant so much. But just watching the replays, I still pop it on every now and again, and just the emotions you get from that. You still feel the buzz, you still feel the nerves when you see Caleb flicking that ball on, and it's just madness.
Some of those highlights where, like, you know what happens. You watch it, as you say, multiple times, but you're still, as you say, it's like you're back there.
100%. Without doubt.
Like, don't miss. And it's like when I watch like penalty shootouts back, like the England versus Colombia one back in
that was crazy.
2016. Was it 18? I still watch that back and think, oh my God, we're gonna lose this.
And you still get that stomach feeling, you know, that like, you're like, oh God, here we go. But even that you know the result, obviously, but it's still crazy. It's crazy that football can do that to you, even after the game.
Exactly. That you brought up a point, Aaron, about crying at a football game, and it's something that is memed quite a lot. So if you see like an opposing fan crying, like in the Euros when that poor German girl was crying after they went out, and that was everywhere. It's funny when it doesn't happen to your
exactly.
Team. But I want to ask the other boys. Kurtis, have you ever cried at a football game?
I've been close several times. Probably I was quite emotional in the Italy-England final at the Euros. That was like, I was just more gutted. I was just like, oh, for God's sake. I was like, really? Come on. And when we lost to Palace and Benteke scored, I was just like, because he came on the pitch, he was on the ball, and my brother was like, it's Benteke, he's not scoring a goal. And then he goes and scores, and I left the room, I just went, fuck's sake, and I just ran into the kitchen, and I was like, fucking hitting stuff. And I was so angry more than anything.
Yeah, that one still hurts, to be really honest. That one, I remember it's just sort of, I was leaning against the wall and just sort of slumped. I was just sat there and just like, I cannot believe this just happened. And then I just remember going upstairs and sitting in this room for about 4 hours in the dark, contemplating, is my life worth it?
But it was there was the whole domination aspect of it, because we just ran the game, you know, and I was just, it's always been, it seems to be a regular thing with us, you know, like we'll run a game and we're like, why aren't we scoring? You know, but it also doesn't feel like we are going to score sometimes, and you're like, what needs to change? And then that happened, and I was like, bugger it.
Yeah, it's one of those frustrating ones. As you say, it was the dominance thing that was the most irritating. And something similar happened last Friday, guys, which we will get onto in a second. Tom, have you ever cried at a football game?
Yes. The first time I saw Brighton play at the AMEX, before the game even started, I was crying because
fair enough.
it was the first season at the AMEX. I didn't get to go to the first game because I was at a wedding, and I think I can't remember who I first saw. It's terrible. I can't even remember who it was, who we played against. But I just remember getting into the North Stand and blubbing like a baby because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. You know, having been at the Withdean since '99, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. You know, there was padded seats, there was a roof. It wasn't too cold. You know, it was a very overwhelming experience to see us at our home. And so that was, I cried at that. And I also cried when we got promoted to the Premier League.
Yeah, fair enough.
Actually, to be fair, I think I did the same, actually, thinking about it.
After years of trying to get, you know, and having all that playoff heartbreak, and it just almost felt like it was never going to happen. And then Chrissy Houghton came in, we got really close under him, and then the whole Racine, keep your chin up thing.
Yeah.
That was gutting, but I didn't cry. But when we got promoted, when Solly scored, and then it was just ticking, you know, watching the clock, waiting, and then the full-time whistle went. And even though it wasn't mathematical at that point, but I think our goal difference was so superior to Huddersfield that it just wasn't going to happen. So I cried when we got promoted.
Yeah, I just had those when that final whistle did go. And I was with one of my guys called David. Shout out David, who sits in the southwest corner. I've been going to the football with him for 9 years now. And I was stood with him, and he's a guy that's been with this club through everything. I'm not sure how old he is, but he's certainly a lot older than myself. But he's seen this club go through so much. And to be honest, it was him crying that set me off crying. And I had all these visions and images going through my head of the Goldstone ground getting taken apart. Us being homeless fans going to exactly that. Tom's just pointing at the last shirt that we wore at the Goldstone ground, and the images as well of Bruno crying on that final day against Sheffield Wednesday.
Bruno, just sorry, we're talking about Bruno when he retired. When he came out,
that was
I was blubbing.
Yeah, that was really sad. But yeah, just one of those moments that, you know, you've got so many people around you and you just feed off of that emotion. Even if you are the strongest of people, and you say, "Oh, I don't cry," you would definitely cry with that amount of emotion around you. The first game I cried at was England versus Portugal in the 2006 World Cup.
Oh, 2006.
Yeah, and we lost on penalties, and Ronaldo got Rooney sent off.
Yes, and he winked.
I thought it was 2004. Well, I think that was 2004.
No, 2006. That was. So yeah, that was really, really sad. And I remember my cousin as well. He wasn't that old, maybe 3 or 4. I remember him innocently walking over to me with a packet of tissues. And I thought to myself then, one day you'll understand why I'm crying. And he's an Albion fan. So he knows the pain. He knows the pain. But yeah, lots of emotions at football, something that we are going to cover as a little segment at the start of our podcast. And hopefully get some fan stories in as well. So if you do want to be included, just pop it in the comments, or go over to Albion Obsessed
below right now.
There it is. Yeah. Or Twitter that he's pointing at as well. Albion Obsessed. Give us a tweet and we will get you involved. So yeah, that's that nice little throwback finished, and I guess let's come back to the current day. Let's go back to Friday, guys, and just talk about what happened at the AMEX. Another very similar thing, as you mentioned, Kurtis, about the Benteke situation. We absolutely dominated Crystal Palace once again, but we don't come away with the 3 points. Aaron, obviously we did the little vlog. I met you at the game. Did you, when that game started, did you see that happening? Obviously, a lot happened in that first half.
I would have taken a point at the start of the game, to be honest. But as the game went on, it should have been 3. We should have taken the lead through Trossard. He should have scored.
Yeah.
Obviously, gross pathetic penalty. And I said at half time, I said to my dad, I was like, if they score, they'll go on and win it. I was like, that's it. They will go on and win it. And as soon as they took the lead, I looked at him. I said, "Told you." I was like, "Here we go." It's like last year all over again.
Yeah.
And it just felt. It just felt like literally here we go again. And so that's all I could keep thinking to myself in my head. I sat down where everyone else was standing around me in the north, and I sat down. I was like, I cannot do this again. I was like, I can't go for this
because you messaged the group chat. You just went, "Here we go again."
Yeah, here we go. Like, I've got a stat here. Palace had 4 shots in 3 games at the AMEX and scored 4 goals.
Bloody hell.
Yep.
And we have had 68 shots in 3 games and scored 2 goals and came away with 1 point.
Is that the most Brighton thing ever?
That is the most Brighton stat going.
Yeah. And they were dreadful. They were on par with probably the worst team we've had at the AMEX probably apart from Brentford. They were shocking. Their fans were shocking. They're a joke. I don't know why they call the Ultras. They're pathetic. They had one good move, which credit to them, it was a hell of a move.
Yeah.
That's all they're tweeting about on their official Twitter. Silky football. I was like, yeah, well, this is what we do for most of our goals. Well done. Congratulations. And then other than that, done nothing. Like it's just one of those things that I said to one of my friends Saturday in the change rooms. I was like, we just cannot beat you. I was like, you are such a shit team, but we just can't beat you. And he was like, well, I wouldn't say that. I was like, we generally couldn't. I was like, there's more chance of, hell freezing over than us getting 3 points at home against you.
It's been 4 years, right, since we beat him or something like that?
Yeah, Graham Potter as a manager for us has never beaten Crystal Palace. The last time we beat them was at Selhurst. Yeah.
That was spicy. That was a lovely goal.
Yeah, I could have that goal on replay all day and never get bored. As you mentioned, Aaron, there was a pathetic penalty from Gross. I sparked a little bit of debate when I tweeted out who should be our main penalty taker. First of all, though, let's talk about the giving of the penalty. It did go to VAR, didn't it?
It did,
Tom, was it a penalty for you?
Yes, it was a penalty. Will Hughes had him in a headlock. No brainer. I think obviously because me and Kurtis, we were watching it on the TV, so we've got the benefits and of replay. But there's no doubt in my mind that it was a penalty, 100%. So they can't complain about that. But I think even stepping up to the penalty, the bit that I just want to talk about as well, there was a flare thrown on the pitch just as Gross was waiting to take it. I don't know why the ref didn't. I know obviously he got moved to the side, but for me, I would have, that's going to put you off, and that's exactly what the Palace fans wanted, of course. But for me, as a referee, I'd tell him to wait. I'd say no, you wait till that goes out, then you can take your penalty. Because at the end of the day, what's gonna, you as a referee, you've got to control the situation as best you can. And if Palace fans are going to act like that, then they should pay the penalty of saying, "Well, actually, I'm not going to take it."
Do you think that waiting for that to go out would actually make him suffer more? That the waiting
I
to
get
take
what you mean, the psychology behind it, but he didn't look confident anyway. So it's one of those where it's impossible to know what was the right thing to have done. He didn't look confident when he took the penalty. It was a poor penalty, really poor. I'm not quite sure why Pascal was deemed the penalty taker when he was on a pitch with 3 other players that had scored a penalty this season, all of whom have played more regularly than he has and are more confident than he is at the moment. He's got Mopé, McAllister and Trossard, all of whom are in decent form, and I would have much rather one of those have taken it, to be honest.
I think the thing is, Gross was our penalty take under Houghton.
Yeah, he was. But last time he took a penalty for us, and I'm happily to be corrected, was West Brom, which he also missed. So I'm not quite sure about the logic, for instance, but I've also seen a picture on Twitter, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about this, but just as Gross steps up to take the penalty, one of the Palace players is encroaching.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It should have been retaken.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those where, why wasn't that looked at?
Yeah, I know, it's one of those things, and somebody put that screenshot out and captioned it with, he would have missed the second one anyway. I'm not 100% sure on the rules. Would it have been Pascal Gross that would have had to retake it, or would another player be able to step up and take it off him because he missed the first one?
I don't know. That's answers on a postcard, kids.
Yeah, I don't actually know that one.
But hindsight's an amazing thing. Obviously.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
But in the end, it was just a really poor attempt at a penalty.
Yeah.
But I'm probably in the minority here by saying that I still think we should stick by Gross. But there we go.
I think his time is coming to an end here now.
I agree to an extent.
I think it's got to the point where his contract's up in 6 months. I don't think he'll sign a new one. Personally, I don't think Potter sees he's the future going forward. So it would be McAllister, I reckon, will be the new sort of Gross in my eyes. I think he'd be the natural replacement.
Yeah.
But you can't knock what Gross has done for us. Like, he's been fantastic since he's come in. Some of the assists and goals he's got have been crucial.
Yeah.
But I think it's got to the point where I wouldn't start him. And I said, when I saw the starting lineup, I was like, I'm not happy with that. Like, for me, he's just incredibly slow. It doesn't really fit Potter's.
Well, I watched the highlights back. Brought myself to watch Palace's goal because I just hate watching their goals against us. I normally skip it. But I brought myself to watch it, and I don't know if you guys picked out Gross in the defending of that goal. And I know it sounds like we're Gross bashing at the moment, but extremely slow to get back. And it's something that I've not ever actually noticed myself, is how slow he is. A lot of fans say it, but I've just not noticed it for myself. But I really, really noticed it in the defending of that goal. And if he was a yard faster, maybe he gets there to pick Gallagher up. But he's just nowhere to be seen. And
he did have a good game though, which is a shame really, because I thought his overall game was okay. It wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't awful.
Apart from the penalty,
obviously, he wasn't terrible. I thought he linked up play quite nicely. He obviously he put Moda in early in the second half when Moda hit the bar, so he did have a decent game. But that penalty was shocking, absolutely shocking, and I tweeted out afterwards, after the penalty, after the disallowed goal, which I will come to in a minute, I'm sure. I was like, just felt like one of those nights, because as Aaron's already said, we were so dominant. They couldn't get near the ball, and it almost felt like a carbon copy of the home game last year. And then obviously, like, the penalties taken, Gross looks completely dejected, and I really felt for him. I really did, because some of the abuse he was getting on Twitter was, and it still is really horrific. And you forget that this guy has one of them is the leading assister in our team, and has been for the last X amount of years. He creates chances whenever he's on the pitch. I don't think he should necessarily be starting week in, week out. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him return to Germany in the summer. But I think that people have very short memories in football fans. I mean, because this guy, since he's rocked up, a couple of years ago, he's been an absolute gem for us. He really has. So let's stop the Gross bashing, guys.
Well, it's actually been this year. You say a couple of years ago. It's actually 5 years we've had Pascal Gross at the football club. Wow. 2017, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Towards when we got promoted, wasn't it? We signed him on a pre-contract, and then he came in the summer. But yeah, as we say, it's not a Pascal Gross bashing at the moment. When a player's time's up at a club, it's up. It's unfortunate. And I am the first person to say that I respect and absolutely love what Pascal Gross has done at this football club. He gave us our first ever goal in the Premier League, which was an incredible moment. He scored twice that day. That season, he was absolutely electric, playing in that sort of shadow striker role behind Glenn Murray. It was just incredible to see, and he delivered some 10 out of 10s that season. It was just unreal. And even after that, he's done some incredible things for us. As you say, Tom, his creativity, how much he provides for the team. It's just, it's great. And everyone that I've listened to in terms of like a player's interview or Graham Potter's interviews or Houghton, whoever that might be, has always spoke so highly of him as a professional and as a man. And you can't underestimate that. These people are with him day in, day out. And for what he's done at the football club, if his time is up at the end of this season, I will be the first in line to say thank you for everything he's done. And let's not have it end this way where he's getting absolutely slaughtered.
There's nothing wrong with critiquing a player or a performance,
absolutely not.
But it's when it gets nasty on social media that's when I think
everyone just sort of piles on it and it gets a bit uncomfortable. And people, again, it's like selective memory because, like, he has one bad game, but you could go out next week or whatever and have like a fantastic game. It'll be like, oh, I've always loved Gross, he's great.
Yeah, and then it'll be new contracts.
Yeah, but so, I do agree with Aaron and whatnot. I do feel like it's coming to an end. I think.
Oh, it is.
He doesn't quite fit with the style.
No, and natural progression where we're going as well.
Yeah,
we'll be looking for another youngster to fill his boots, which McAllister is. Yeah, and I think that was the long term. If I'm honest, I think that's probably the long term plan.
I think you're right. Yeah,
cool.
But I think I personally didn't think he was great on Friday, to be honest. Again, we were like literally all the points just sort of picked up on. Really, he just. Penalty was dreadful. Set pieces wasn't great. Very, very slow across the midfield. Just other than that, there's not much to really say. I'm not going to bash the guy because he's been fantastic. But it wasn't a great performance in my personal opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. And as you mentioned, Tom, in when you were speaking about the disallowed goal after the penalty, obviously Pascal then took the resulting corner from the save. And it was bundled home by none other than Neil Maupay, who celebrated and knee slide in front of the Palace fans. Unfortunate that it was ruled out. First of all, Tom, do you think it was rightly disallowed?
It's one of those where I can see it from both ways. But it reminded me very much of our game against, and I'm going to say Man City, when Sanchez was bundled in to drop the ball and City scored and it was given. It reminded me very much of that because, again, through the benefits of television, Butland didn't look to be in control. Yes, he caught it, but it looked like he dropped it and he dropped it into Neil and it bounced off him and went in the goal. So we've been at the receiving end of that decision when the goal has been given and I've been fuming. So I can see why it has been disallowed. But again, for me, it's about consistency. If you're gonna say that that's not a goal for Neil Maupay, then that shouldn't have been a goal earlier in the season when Sanchez, when it happened to Sanchez. I'm still not entirely convinced that Butland was in control, and that's the key wordage for me. In control, because I don't think he was. But it wasn't a surprise to see it chalked off. As soon as the ref goes over to the monitor, you just know what's going to happen.
Exactly that.
It ended a very frustrating half of football where we could have and perhaps should have gone in 2-3 goals up, and we didn't, and we paid the price in the second half.
I was thinking to myself after that half, I was thinking like, oh, what a bloody great half, but I'm really pissed off. Like why haven't we scored? It was just, that was my thinking going into that. So
Yeah, well, obviously with a penalty save, that dejects you a lot because you know it's just a terrible penalty. And then obviously when VAR goes against you, of course, that then brings your mood down again. But Aaron, obviously from a goalkeeper's perspective, if that happens to you, obviously at your league, there's no VAR, there's nothing like that. If that happens to you, are you appealing for that to be disallowed?
Yes. I thought Buckland was in control of the ball. His natural way he was going, he's going to hit Morpay, and that's when he collides with Morpay. That's when he drops the ball, in my opinion. And
as soon as a foul, because what?
Well, it's one of those. It's one of those where because his foot was up, and then he sort of made himself be in the way. As stupid as it sounds, then that's why it was given. With the reverse back to Sanchez, Sanchez wasn't in control of the ball.
No, he wasn't.
Against City, he wasn't. I thought he was because it was right in front of me. And I was like, that's got to be a foul. And I watched it back on the replay. I was like, no. He's done that sort of weird thing where he sort of caught it but dropped it, sort of thing, where Buckland had his hands on the ball and it's gone down onto Morpay, and that's when the ball spilled out. So for me, as much as I hate to admit it, that was not a goal.
Yeah, fair enough.
Annoyingly, Butler did a bloody good game.
Oh, he was superb.
Do you remember when he played against us? I think he was on loan at Barnsley, I think, or somewhere like that, and he had an absolute worldie against us a couple of years ago, back in the Championship days, and it was like a repeat of that. It was one of those games where you think, Winder's not going to get past him, are we?
No, he's a fantastic goalkeeper. He made one absolutely fantastic save from Modder in the second half. And I said to my dad, I was like, this is like the flashbacks of the Palace game in the playoffs. Speroni made a world-class save from Ashley Barnes in the North Stand onto the bar in the exact same corner. And I was like, this is literally just flashbacks. It's like, now they're going to go on and win it. And then when they scored, that's when I was like, here we go. I was like, I told you.
Yeah.
I told you.
Yeah, in the vlog that we did, you can hear me very frustratedly shouting, he dropped it, with a few expletives in there as well. Obviously, it didn't quite have the benefit of replays because VAR takes ages, and then you can only really see the decision. Not even sure if they showed the decision after that, did they? Did they show the replay? I think they did. Yeah. So yeah, we see it like 2 minutes after the decision's been made. So yeah, obviously I've come across very, very frustrated, but I've watched it over and over and over. And yeah, if that happens against us, I'm shouting for that to be ruled out as well. 100%. So I think unfortunately, yes, that was correctly ruled out. But hey, it's one of those things. Obviously, the game sort of ebbed and flowed in the second half. It sort of carried on where it left off. And then Palace put together that move, and Conor Gallagher sweeps them in front of their fans. And as you say, Aaron, that's we're thinking it's going to be one of those. After, but let's say like 10 minutes after, did you feel like we were going to get back into that?
No. It just felt like everything we were doing just wasn't going to go our way. Generally, I just thought even though we absolutely battered them, I can't stress enough how much we battered them. It just felt like whatever we were doing, it just wasn't working. We just couldn't get that little bit of luck or that final ball or just something. And obviously we hit the bar, had a couple of good chances. Obviously. Modder's flick onto the bar, Modder's save from Buckland. Buckland save from Modder, I should say. I just didn't feel like we're going to score. It just had that horrible feeling that it felt like, I've got it here on my notes. It just felt like the old Brighton.
Yeah,
like we were playing some fantastic football because we were so. We were so good on Friday in patches, like so good. Like they just couldn't handle us, and then we just felt we just needed a goal. And then Welbeck came on; he had a chance. I was thinking, we might get something. And then getting to like 85th minute, I'm thinking, not going to be it, is it? It's not going to be it. And obviously, moments of brilliance from Morpay. I have to admit, the little dink over, I think it was, was it Anderson he dinked over or Ward? One of the two.
It was Ward.
Ward, I think.
Yeah, a little dink over his foot, and then obviously drags it back, and Anderson decides to nutmeg Butland. And the scenes in the North Stand were just absolutely ridiculous. Like, oh Lord, it was so
absolutely incredible. And I agree with you, Aaron. I really felt like it was going to take something that scrappy to get us back into the game. And Neil Morpay, I tweeted out after the game that he is one of the best attackers we've ever had at this football club, and it's time for people to respect that, because his work rate and the amount he pushes and pushes and pushes, if it wasn't for him, obviously, I know this sounds really obvious, me saying this, if it wasn't for him, that goal doesn't happen. No, because any other attacker would have given up on it. But he's smartly thought of that flick. He's then driven the ball where he knows that if any contact is put on that, it's going in the back of the net. If Anderson misses that, Welbeck's there to put it in. Incredible, intuitive to get in there. Sorry, Kurtis, you're smirking at something.
No. It was just. I was just thinking about it, because I was thinking, like, when I was watching it happen, it almost felt like it was slow motion, because I could see everything just happening, and I was like, I saw him pass it through. I was like, oh my god, and then it just went in. And I was like, yes, come on, and it was just wonderful to watch, because I think Neil Morpay had a bloody good game. I think
he was superb.
Apart from the goal situation, I just thought he was everywhere. He was working really hard, and I still think he's super underrated for us. I don't think people give him as much plaudits as they should, because he'll have like 2 games where he doesn't score a goal, but he's doing a lot, and then people don't seem to notice that. They'll just notice that he's not scoring goals.
And this is a prime example of that, because it's his work rate that's got us that goal. He's putting it into the mixer, and obviously Anderson's nutmegged Butland, which was hilarious to see. 87th minute, so leaving it late again. But it fills me with so much pride and so much confidence in this team that we just will not stop.
Absolutely.
95th minute, 97th minute, 98th minute, we're scoring equalizers. It's just brilliant to see.
And against Palace as well.
Yeah, love to see it. Tom, what was your views on the goal? Obviously, we've spoken about Neil Morpay in really high regard there. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've said it on this pod many times. He's an incredible player, is Neil Morpay. We look so much better when he's on the pitch. Just what I'd give to see him play alongside an out-and-out striker. I think he could just bag a hatful.
I think you're right.
But, he's again back to it. His work rate is just top notch. He's always harrying the defenders. He's never giving anyone a moment's peace. And as you say, Joe, like, he doesn't give up on that ball. And then because he doesn't give up on it, he forces the error, and we come away with with the least we deserve. But I think just want to touch upon the second half. I want to touch upon the substitutions that Potter made. I think it was quite clear in the first half that the right-hand side was an area that we could exploit. And obviously we now know that the reason Lamptey didn't start the game was because he was carrying a bit of a niggle. But when he did come on, he looked dangerous. He kept, he used to attack that right-hand side. And it made me smile a bit, because the Palace left-back, Mitchell, I think his name is, they rave about him, about how good he is, and I thought he was not awful. Awful is a strong word.
No, you're right. You're correct.
He was very basic, let's put it that way. And then I remember just kind of thinking to myself, wait, is this the player that they all rave about?
Tom, it's their star boy. You can't do that.
Well, it's kind of like the Olise thing. I was hearing, like, here comes Olise. He's going to run a mark. And it was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I was like, who's this?
You mean Zaha 2.0, you mean? Like, just throwing himself on the bloody floor the whole game.
Quite literally. Oh my God!
I thought the subs were great. I thought March also, he came on. He looked to be a bit more direct, which I thought was what we needed.
Yeah.
Welbeck obviously had a chance right at the end with the header. But I thought Potter got his subs right. I think it was one of those. I don't know if you boys would have seen the clip on Twitter, but at halftime, the pundits were saying about how Potter had set his team up to be, perfectly in the first half. Because I think I was disappointed with the lineup. Going back to what Aaron said earlier, I was disappointed with the starting 11, not seeing Lamptey. Obviously, didn't know the context behind that. But watching the first half unfold and see how dominant we were, the pundits were very complimentary about us, as they usually are. But they did make this comment about there's not much more Graham Potter can do here. He set up his team really well. They're creating chances. They're just not putting them away. And it did feel, I made a video at halftime that I never sent for the vlog because I was so out of it. But it just felt deja vu again. And then just that one moment of quality from Neil, just to not give up, just to not, sit back and think, oh, someone else will get it, or it's gone. I'm going to get that ball. That's my ball. I'm going to get it. And I'm going to put it in the danger area, and what happens, happens. So yeah, I come in all the way full circle back to Neil Maupay. What a guy! What a player! Long may it continue.
Yeah, I know what you said about the starting lineup. I very quickly learned, because I was somebody who would look at the starting lineup and be really angry because a certain player wasn't playing or set up in a certain way. But with Graham Potter as our manager, I've really learned to trust what they're doing, because he doesn't get it wrong often. I would say probably, let's say 10% of the time he'll get it wrong. But then 5% of that 10%, if you catch what I'm saying, he will know and change it. And I thought we had incredible options off the bench. As you noted there, Tom, with Welbeck, Lamptey and March coming on. I absolutely love Solly March in a more attacking role. He's just got so much freedom, and what I would like to see from Solly sometimes is just that little bit more confidence to really take somebody on, and just be that tiny bit more direct, because he could really force some chances for us. There was a moment at the end where I thought there maybe should have been a penalty. I think Tarek got taken down and then Solly got taken down, or the other way around.
It was
one of them.
Tarek sort of like, I mean, if you watched it on the TV, Tarek like deliberately sort of backs into the player. So in my opinion, it was quite obviously not a penalty.
Right. I agreed.
Fair enough. I haven't seen the highlights overly,
but it's good to like try and get one.
Yeah, that's what Potter said as well, because they asked him about it after the game, and he said that he smiled and just kind of went. He didn't blame Tarek for trying.
Yeah, fair enough. I had an argument with someone like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, saying that you're not allowed to win a penalty, and that phrase should be cut out. Oh, sorry, it's not my microphone. That phrase should be not used. Do you agree that you're not allowed to win a penalty? Do you think you should be able to use your body to try and draw
a foul? It's a tactical thing, isn't it? Like,
it's just being smart.
Yeah.
Like it's like a striker learning tricks of the trade. This is literally tricks of the trade. If you're sort of one-on-one with a player, like as in either side, you want to try and get in front of him and just sort of try and just sort of make him clip you to take you down. It's little things like that, or backing into a player. As much as I hate Harry Kane, he does it really well.
When he puts people in danger doing that, and I don't
he did it to Lallana, and like
he got a penalty because
his bloody neck.
It's just little things like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, as in winning the penalty side of things, but it's the way you do it.
I think I'm in two minds about it, because I really despise diving. I hate it. I think it ruins the game. But on the flip side, I've also seen what happens when players don't go down. They try and stay on their feet. They're being honest, and then the foul isn't given. But for me, the issue is then the rules. The issue there is the refereeing. it's not a player should never be penalised for trying to do the right thing. If it's a foul, it's a foul. It doesn't matter if the player stays up. We've seen it with Mopé, with Welbeck. They're trying to be honest. They don't go down.
Yeah.
There's two different unbelief when Aaron Connolly used to just feel the slightest touch.
Yeah.
I'm picking on Aaron Connolly because he was one of the people that did it the most for us. He'd feel the slightest touch and he just hit the deck. And that's what Zaha does. And we've spent years berating him for doing that. We can't, on the flip side, then go, oh, but it's okay when we do it.
Yeah.
So I don't like it. I don't like the phrasing of it because it implies that you've not cheated, but it implies that you've gone down very easily.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should encourage that. I think referees should be stronger, and if a foul has been committed, even if the player has stayed up, it's still given if an advantage cannot be played.
Yeah, that's what the person's argument was when I spoke to them about it. It was that it's encouraging, and if let's say an 8-year-old coming through an academy somewhere hears the phrase "win a penalty," they might try and win a penalty too much and become somebody like Zaha. Aaron,
people being clever, as Aaron says, putting your body in a position where a defender has got no choice but to bring you down or whatever.
Yeah.
I understand that sort of aspect of the game, but I don't like players going down on the slightest of touch, and I don't like players like Harry Kane who then endanger other players.
Yeah,
because that's not being clever. That's being a dick.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think there's two different types of dives. I'd say where you're trying to. So it's hard to explain. You go round a player and he sticks his foot out, and then you just go to the ground, no contact. You're doing a Zaha. You just fall into the ground because you want to win a free kick. Yeah, and there's somewhere you initiate the contact. Like you see players when they go around a goalkeeper, they'll stick their left foot out as the keeper's coming out because he knows if he touches that foot, it's going to be a penalty. It's going to look like a penalty. It's little things like that. I'm not saying it's right, but it's stuff in the game that's been in the game for years. It won't go. Like they said, they're going to clamp down on it. They have to a certain degree because the refs have been cutting those sort of fouls out this year, where players go to ground. I thought the ref on Friday was superb. Just to throw that in there.
Yeah, I don't know if you. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in on there. He was the same ref that we had against West Brom, and he was awful then. One thing I didn't like, I don't know if you got this in the ground, but when he was checking the penalty, he walked over to the thing, he puffed out his chest, and it reminded me a lot of Mike Dean. It almost like he was the star of the show. I'm not saying like the decision was wrong or anything like that, but I just got that sort of Mike Dean-ish vibe.
I thought it was a superb ref. I thought all the decisions.
With any of the decisions he made, I hasten to add. Maybe more so when we played West Brom, but that was a different game.
The whole situation, I thought the game was very, very good. But refs in this league are pathetic at the best of times, to be fair. So,
to be fair to the referee, that game is a hard one to deal with. It's very feisty. It's very much. Oh, Aaron's gone. Where's he gone? I don't know. But yeah, just to extend on my point, it's a very feisty game. So yeah, there wasn't much wrong. I felt like the fans were getting on his back a little bit, but obviously in the stadium for sure, and obviously at home as well. But in the stadium, the emotions are just heightened so much that every little thing that goes against you. But I did feel like there were a few that he gave to Palace that he didn't give to us, like similar challenges.
Like against West Brom, then.
Yeah, a little bit. But hey, let's not give much airtime to the referees if they're going to do things like that.
It's always very petulant to blame the referee.
It's very easy to do so, isn't it?
Yeah.
We had so many chances to win that game.
We should have done.
Yeah, and when you look at it, just take a step back and look at it. Obviously, yes, it's against Palace, and we really, really want to win that game. But at the end of the day, it is a positive result to take, I think. A lot of stuff we did 100% right.
Yeah.
And
it's not a loss, so that's good.
No, exactly. And Graham Potter, again, proven why he's one of, if not the best manager in the country.
And that's why he's staying with Brighton.
And that's why he's staying. He's said it. He's happy here. He loves what we're doing. He loves the fact that the club trust him, and he can feel that sort of freedom to go out and do exactly what he wants a Graham Potter side to do. And I don't feel like he would get that freedom elsewhere, because you see how quick clubs are to fire their managers. I feel like
there'd be way more pressure on him. There'd be way more pressure. Like, as if he went to Everton, hypothetically, like Everton fans think they are part of sort of like the biggest club in the world, and so they think they're owed a lot more, just like Manchester United fans. You know who you are, but like it would be so much pressure for Graham, and I think Graham does well when he's not put under a huge amount of pressure. So.
Yeah, I feel like
the fact that because we've got such a good manager, he's going to be linked with every job under the sun. Every time that another club loses their boss,
it seems like that's constantly happening.
Yeah, it is. And I really do feel like if Graham Potter, last season in lockdown when we went through that really, really rough patch, and things just were not going for us. It honestly, mark my words, if Graham Potter's at any other club at all, he gets sacked.
Yeah.
We don't sack him. We stand by him. And then, we're reaping the rewards because we've given him that trust and we trust the process. I might be unpopular in saying this, but I feel like we don't need that. Right. So bear with me when I say this because it could be misconstrued.
Hang on. Here we go.
I feel like we don't need an out and out striker. We need a striker, an attacking option to complement what we have. Okay, so
that's what you've done to Aaron. You've broken him.
Aaron's back. So we need maybe one or two more. Aaron's got to go. Okay, no worries, mate. We need one or two options to complement what we have, because I do feel like the players that we do have are more than capable with the support around them to get us the goals that we need. It would be absolutely lovely to have the £50 million striker, to have that guy who comes in and the fans get hyped and, oh my God, he's going to score all these goals. But realistically, it's just not going to happen. I would put my house on it. I don't have a house, but I would put my house on it if I did have one. That we're not going to sign a player this window for the first team. And if we do, it'll be one for the future that goes out on loan. And I guarantee that next season, if we tie some contracts down that we want, we won't make that many notable additions because we have a squad here that Graham Potter believes in, he trusts in, he knows what he wants to do with it. And I really do feel like there's just maybe that one or two options that we need.
I've noticed that our sort of transfer windows have always been really sensible signings that we need to bolster certain positions. Like the Veltmans and I think Enoch has paid off as well. Like, so I'm not sure I could see us spending a huge amount of money on a big box office striker, unfortunately, but. Because I don't know if you saw earlier on, Graham was asked about, is there going to be any activity in the transfer window? And he gave the very Potter answer, as he always does. And then he was straight out asked about Christian Eriksen as well, which is the big rumour, obviously. But I'm starting to agree with you. I'm not sure if we will, but if we do, I don't think it will be a striker. So.
No, and this isn't me saying that I don't want a striker. This isn't me saying that I don't want an out-and-out striker and that wouldn't improve our team. I'm just saying that isn't what the club's going to do. I know that for a fact because it hasn't happened over the last however many seasons we've been calling for it.
Yeah.
And Graham Potter has said it many, many, many times that he believes in the players that he has.
Mm-hmm.
There's no secret that we need more options. Jurgen Locardi has gone. Aaron Connolly has gone out on loan. His future's up in the air. What's going to happen with him? We don't know if he's going to come back. But we do have some players out on loan. Abdullah Sima, Andy Zakiri, Mitoma.
Mitoma, he's going to be...
Yeah, he will be good.
I've probably forgotten some players, but all I'm saying to fans is really trust the process because this club is not stupid. And just wait because in a few years' time we're going to be proper challengers.
Yeah, we're obviously not scared to buy players if we feel we need them, and obviously the Darwin Núñez saga showed us that there is a willingness.
If we Kurtis hates that name,
but there's a willingness there that if we do find a player that's going to fit in with what we want as a club, that we are willing to spend, but we aren't going to go and just drop 25 million on a player just because. It has to be someone who very much fits into the ethos of the club, fits into Graham Potter's plans. And I think you're right, Joe. I think the modern day number 9, I don't think it exists anymore. Well, obviously it does exist, but obviously I don't think that's what we're going to go for. I think we would go for more of a forward in the essence that Trossard is a forward. He can play anywhere across a front three. So I think that if we do bring in a player, I think the most likely sort of player, not that I think we will bring him in, is someone like Ben Brereton Diaz, who can play anywhere across that front three.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of the future of what our striking options will look like going forward. I agree. I don't think we're going to bring in another first team player this window unless something miraculous happens.
Yeah, I think unless. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I think we could do with like bolstering some other areas too, because like if you heard like Lallana's injured now, I think maybe like another midfield option could be good, maybe.
Yeah, I would like to see an attacking midfield option come in. Somebody a little bit like, let's say if we put Mwepu and Lallana together, I would like a player like that. I feel like that would be something that we really need. Something like a Christian Eriksen. Obviously, I'm not sure if Christian Eriksen's gonna happen. There's lots of talk that plenty of Premier League clubs are in for him.
Brentford apparently are talking to him.
Yeah, Tom, you called that one.
Yeah. It's the Scandinavian connection. They've got a Scandinavian manager. They've got like Danish and Norwegian players throughout their team. So it makes sense for Eriksen to go there, especially as the likelihood is that he's going to only have a short contract. So, you go.
Well, the rumor is like a 6-month contract with an option to re-sign for a year afterwards, I think is. But he also has to go through like extensive cardiac tests with a Premier League doctor and all this.
And that's why I don't think we'd go for him, because I don't know if you remember, there was a player a few years ago, a young lad, I think he was from a Belgian club, and he had a heart condition that we found during his medical, and we refused to sign him based on that. So I don't think that I don't think we'd be in for him, but purely based on that. I know he's incredible, and yes, he would probably bolster our attacking options, but I just think based on the club's history in terms of the medical side of things, I just don't think we'd risk it.
Yeah, I think.
And it's something the club is. Well, I'm sure every single club is really hot on it, because obviously it's player welfare at risk. But obviously we done all those tests for Connor Goldson as well. And located his problem, and obviously he had surgery that meant he could go on and carry on playing, and he went to the SPL and he's playing at Rangers now. So you would argue that maybe he's playing at a lesser level. I don't watch much Scottish football.
He's doing well. He's doing really well out there. So
I've heard he's doing all right, which is great to see, because I absolutely love Connor Goldson as a player, and I was really, really wanting him to do well in the Premier League when we got promoted, but he didn't get too much chance to show what he was about. But yeah, so yeah, I don't think Eriksen's really on the cards for Brighton. So much so I tweeted out and said if we do sign him, I'll get his name tattooed on me.
Watch this space.
Yeah, so if we do sign him, I'll vlog that and get that on the channel. So we'll see. That gets clicks. But just because it's getting on quite late now, and my baby's got to go to bed soon. But I just want to touch quickly on a point that Toby raised after the game on Friday, was the crowd control. Now, I'm not talking about the Palace fans. They were out the way very quickly. The club dealt with them, I felt, quite well. I didn't really come into contact with any Palace fans at all. Maybe a couple in the queue for the food, but they were actually quite surprisingly pleasant. So which really took me back. But after the game, we were literally penned in the North Stand, and you couldn't move anywhere. And my mum phoned me because I went back towards Lancing Way with my dad. My mum was going back towards Hastings. We couldn't. Yeah, we got separated. And she phoned me. She couldn't find me anywhere. And she almost got crushed because of how ridiculous it was. Basically, obviously, it was so the Palace fans were coming round the West Stand way, past the ramp, and down past the store, and we were getting exited out the east side of the stadium, to avoid obviously a clash. And they opened one exit in the North Stand, which maybe two people can get out of at a time. And it was just ridiculous. Obviously, people missed their coaches for Seagulls Travel. They couldn't wait around that long. Seagulls Travel got absolutely hammered because of this. Because obviously they had to leave. At what point do you wait? You know, they had to leave, leaving people stranded. Toby goes with his elderly granddad, and obviously for him that's not ideal at all. Getting pushed around, not being able to move, and even needing a toilet, you can't get to a toilet. Needing food, needing water. It's 100% something the club have to look at, and something that a lot of people have raised. So I'm sure they are looking into it. But to be fair, it is very exceptional circumstances because obviously it's against Palace, and the crowd control is extra on that day. But yeah, I really don't want to see that happen again, because as I say, for elderly people, for disabled people, that is a really, really scary situation, even for people with anxiety and things like that. Luckily, I was with my dad, who's quite the broad man, and managed to push people out of the way for me. But yeah, if I was on my own, I would have been screwed.
Yeah. It's not very good, and I know the club have tweeted out that they are going to be looking into it, right. But just I don't know, lack of planning, perhaps. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a very. I mean, obviously, this isn't the first time this fixture's been played at the club.
No.
So I don't. I mean, I'm not saying that it's always been great beforehand, because I know it hasn't. Especially, was it last year the Palace fans broke in? So I know there always is, as you say, Joe. It's a different set of circumstances, and you just never know what you're going to get on the night. But to potentially put people at risk is just not acceptable. So hopefully the club will look at that and look at how they police it or whatever for future games against Palace.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I remember my first ever Brighton Palace game was in the playoffs, when we lost. And I was in the South Stand, so right next to the Palace fans.
Yeah.
And after the game, we had to rush back for our train, because the trains back then were terrible. It's when I don't think they had the deal that they have now with Southern.
Yeah.
And yeah, the connections were really bad, especially to get back to Hastings. It's where I lived back then. And I remember they shut the doors. And we were like, hold on, we need to get our train, like it leaves in 20 minutes. What are you doing? And they said, just wait. and then we waited literally like 2 seconds, and then we heard banging on the doors.
Yeah.
And that was the Palace fans trying to get into our segment of the grounds. So that was extremely scary back then. But obviously they cleared them, and luckily we managed to get our train. So yeah, it is something that has been consistently crap.
Just touching on that, Joe. I just want to talk about this, and I might get slated for saying this.
No, go on.
It's just a bloody game of football.
Yeah,
we love football. We do a podcast on it, but to think that excuses violent behaviour, destruction. We've seen Palace fans nicking seats. I mean, these idiots do realise that Palace have to pay for any damage that they cause, right?
Yep, defacing murals to players and things like that. It's pathetic. It really is pathetic.
Rivalry. And I mean, we all joke, that them lot up the road, bloody hate them. It's bloody football. It does not excuse antisocial behaviour. I don't care if that makes me sound like an old man or whatever.
And also, this just go to Brighton fans as well. Like, I saw people wishing death on Zaha when he was out of the AFCON. It's like, there's no place for that at all. Like, no place for that.
Joking about the Shoreham disaster, I think that's disgraceful. And I think that both clubs should do as much as they can to punish people and ban them, regardless of which fan base you're part of. If you get caught saying stuff like that on social media, you're done. You're banned. You ain't coming. Yeah. I think it's unacceptable, because at the end of the day, we like to have a bit of jokes. We don't like to have a bit of banter, but there is no excuse for violence. There is no excuse for that sort of behaviour at all.
No, exactly. And it proves how easy it is to get on with people when you have a friend or a neighbour, like I did, who's a Crystal Palace fan. Somebody that lives a few doors away from my mum. He's a Crystal Palace fan. I grew up like almost next door to him. The loveliest man you will ever come across.
Yep.
Honestly.
Yep. I used to work with a Palace fan. Lovely guy.
So did I.
And it just goes to prove that, all this, I don't know what you call it.
They're just getting caught up in the whole experience, I think.
Yeah, it's all like territorial, and my club's better than yours, and the testosterone blasting through your body, and I'm going to punch you because you're wearing blue and white.
Yeah.
It's just, obviously it's been in football for God knows how long, way before I was alive.
Better now than it used to be. We have to obviously comment on that. Like, I'm sure that my dad, he could tell me stories of the stuff that used to happen in the 80s, and obviously it's completely different to what it is now. Yeah. But I still think that, these idiots that are posting pictures of themselves on social media breaking a seat, it's like,
I saw that and it was like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing that for?
Yeah, to be fair, the guy that tweeted out with the seat, he wasn't the guy that.
No, but there was another one. There was an Crystal Palace fan with a picture of him. I think it was either himself with a seat or with him and another person with a seat. And someone in the comments, below it, just tweeted Brighton, Palace, and Sussex Police. And you're just thinking, well done.
Congratulations, easy. But yeah, that's just how stupid these people are, is that they will get caught that easily because they post it on social media because they want 1,000 likes on their tweet.
Just remember, it's a football game, not a death match. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly that. Be kind to people.
Exactly.
Smile, have a great time, come away from it, go back to your family. And we'll see you next season. That's it. That's all I care about. But we've got some exciting things coming up. Obviously, we've got Chelsea tomorrow. A very quick return leg of the Chelsea game. Obviously, we only played them just after Christmas, and now we're playing them again on the 18th of January. So that's going to be good fun. Hopefully a nice little result there. We'll get some predictions quickly. Tom, what are we thinking?
No Basuma, which is my big worry because he ran the show at Stamford Bridge.
He did.
But I think Chelsea, we're playing them at the right time. I don't think they're tearing up any trees. So I'm going to go with another 1-1 draw.
Oh, okay, decent. Well, I'll take a point right now for that game, to be fair. And Kurtis, what are we thinking, my friend?
My heart says 2-1 to us, as it always says win. But unfortunately, I think I agree with Tom and go 1-1. Yep.
Fair enough. Cool. I would like to stay positive. Let's go with my head. I do think we're going to lose tomorrow. I am very worried, obviously, that we don't have Basuma. And as you say, Tom, he was absolutely world class at Stamford Bridge. They had to bring on Kante to counteract it, and even that didn't stop us from scoring an equaliser.
When are the AFCON lot back, by the way? Do we know?
Depends on how far they get.
Oh, I suppose so, yeah.
But I would imagine mid-February. Yeah, no Lallana, no Mwepu. So midfield is obviously Chelsea's strong point.
So we'll probably end up seeing Gross, McAllister, Moda,
what about
maybe Saturday. Saturday?
Saturday.
I'd like to see maybe Moises Ciedo at some point played.
Yeah, that could be a decent option. I feel like it's one of those nothing to lose games. A free hit, maybe. But yeah, I do think it's going to be a loss. I'm not going to predict how much we're going to lose by, but let's just hope and pray that it goes the way that you guys are saying. After the game, we do have Richie Mills of Sussex Live coming on the podcast to round up the Chelsea game with us, and we'll ask him some questions about journalism and being in the football media and see that side of the world. So that's going to be nice and fun. So yeah, guys, hopefully you have a good rest of the week. Obviously, I'll speak to you on Wednesday anyway. Tom, hope you feel better soon. And Kurtis, we will chat to you soon, buddy.
You definitely will. Yeah.
Kill up the Albion. Stay safe, guys, and most importantly, be kind. See you later.
Bye.